Joining us now is Nassau County District Attorney Ann Donnelly, who has led the charge to bring Theresa's killer to justice. Thank you so much, DA, for being here today. It is a pleasure to have you, and congratulations on making this arrest.
Thank you for having me, Laura. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Go ahead. Well, I wanted to ask you about the case. You know, this has really haunted Nassau County for decades. And I know that there are police officers who have been on this case for not only several years, but the 40 years that never gave up. So tell us about how this suspect was tracked down, because this is really incredible work.
It really is, and I'm so grateful to the, cooperation and work with the Nassau County Police Department and the FBI that led us to this great ending here. This case is a little bit personal to me. I grew up and lived in Nassau County. I used to spend a lot of time in Lynbrook. I went to hot skates, and when this case happened, it haunted everybody. In 1984, an innocent girl, she leaves work at hot skates and she's walking home and disappears, and they find her body a month later. So the FBI was very helpful in getting us some investigative leads. And when the name Richard Bilodeau came up, we began to follow him and track what his life was like. We found out that back in 1984, he was 23 years old, living in Lynbrook, about a block away from hot skates and about a block away from where Theresa Fusco lived. He claims he was working, driving a coffee truck, and we were able to gather an abandoned sample of his DNA and made a match to the DNA recovered from Theresa.
You know, this is just, it was a devastating murder that really has haunted this area, as I mentioned, for years. And also there were two other teenagers who went missing around this area around the same time. So we've got to ask, is law enforcement considering Bilodeau as a suspect in those cases? We're talking about Jackie Martorella and Kelly Morrissey. Jackie's body was found, but Kelly Morrissey, I understand, is still missing. Any idea if this is being looked at in those cases?
We are still investigating those cases, and we will follow every lead that we can. Kelly Morrissey was a friend of Theresa Fusco's, and her case is being re-examined, as well as the Mortadello case.
You know, I've listened to so many podcasts about this case and talked to so many people in Nassau County about this. And, and anybody can tell you that life was so much different back in the 80s, right? 1984. People aren't on their cell phones. They're not checking in the way they do. And this really sent shockwaves throughout the community. There are also other cold cases. More cold cases are being solved using this new DNA technology. Nassau County is a hot spot, as many areas in the country are. And I've got to ask you about the other Nassau County cases that are out there that you guys are looking with this advanced DNA technology. Talk to us about the lab that was being used in this case and how it could help others. And if you can, and I've got to ask you about Nassau County's involvement with the Long Island serial killer case, because there were victims found as well. It's a Suffolk County case, but Nassau County is involved as well. So I know that's a lot to try and tackle, but if you could kind of loop us in on what's going on with the cold cases in Nassau County and how it also might pertain to Gilgo.
So cold cases are a priority in my office. When I took office in 2022, I said that to my prosecutors, I want every cold case we have reviewed. And let's see if there's evidence we can retest, and let's see if there's leads that we can re-examine. So that's been a priority. And I think that's why we were able to solve the Richard Cottingham case. He killed 5 people in Nassau County. We also got DNA evidence that we retested and led us to him. There's still one of his victims, Miss Nieves, that we're looking for family or friends, someone to come forward and talk to us about her, because we have no information about her except that Richard Cottingham killed her, and we have the evidence of that. We also just 2 weeks ago identified a missing person by the name of Susan Mann. She was killed in a homicide and buried as a Jane Doe because nobody knew who she was. But the advancements in DNA evidence have allowed us now to find out that she's in fact Susan Mann. The advancement in the DNA evidence is what led Suffolk County to be able to charge Harriman in the Gilgo cases. It's amazing. In 1984, as you said, Laura, there was no cell phones, there was no DNA testing, there was no. In 2004, we had DNA testing, but it was not as well advanced as it is today.
Yeah.
In 2025, it's incredible the matches that we can make due to DNA. And thankfully, it's such a tool to help law enforcement and us to identify victims and to get these killers and bring them to justice.
And didn't, really quickly before I let you go, Ann, didn't Richard, your suspect in this case that we're talking about with Theresa Fusco, didn't he say something to the effect of you used to be able to get away with murder back in the 80s? Did he say something like that?
Yes, in July, the first time the police went to speak to him, they were asking him, and he said, "I don't know who this girl is," and he denied knowing her pictures, looking at pictures, denied knowing her, and they said, "Well, do you remember the case from 1984?" And he said, "Back in the 1980s, you could get away with murder."
Unbelievable. Well, listen, our hats are off to all of the investigators in Nassau County who have diligently kept this evidence for all these years so that it can be tested and retested again with this advanced DNA technology. I look forward to talking to you again. I hope to have you back on the program. Nassau County District Attorney Ann Donnelly, thank you very much for joining us and bringing this really important update. And we will be back.